Anya dropping the truth bombs in this episode. Chichi Tsundere. It was funny because as I was watching this episode, I honestly didn't really think I was going to have anything to cover in an episode impressions, but I think what kind of happens is you have this slow build up to a realization at the end that this entire episode is really to change Lloyd. And it's funny because I don't think I necessarily acknowledged this too much with the very beginning of the series. It obviously opens up with this idea this guy have never had an idea of having a family. He's never pursued romance. It was all to the gain of being a spy. But what this episode is really doing is that change in Lloyd, him realizing the important things in life. So why did Lloyd get assigned this job? What was the whole reason? Yes, obviously the reason is to go see this Donovan guy. He's needed for this whole thing. But why was Lloyd assigned to it? I think we're going to find out at the very end. It's going to be one of those two birds, one stone scenarios. Like, Lloyd's boss obviously needs this information from Donovan, but it's going to be one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, by the way, also, I wanted you to have a family. I wanted you to see what you're kind of leaving behind for this long period of time, to show him the importance of family and that, yes, eventually he's going to need to settle down. He needs to have a family at some point in his life. So I think at some point it's going to be one of those realizations is like, yeah, I did that because I wanted you to see the importance of family. I wanted you to not get so stuck in being a spy that you'll never realize what's important in life, which is, yes, having a legacy, having children, having a wife, having a loving family that you've never had so far. So yes, while most of this episode I'm going, this is cute, this is fun, but it's nothing to really talk about. It's just a cute family having fun. And yes, I was a little bit disappointed for the majority of this episode, not really having some fun, mechanics within what they are. You don't have the fun part where Lloyd is being a spy. You don't have those fun parts where Yor is being an assassin. You don't have the fun parts where, yes, there's a couple points when Anya reads a mind and hears something like, I don't want to get stains on something that's too bright or whatever. It was mostly just a family. And again, I think that was important because as you get to the later parts of it, you get that realization that Lloyd is getting something from this. He's constantly thinking, man, this is a failure. This is the first time I'm going to fail at a mission. This is the family that's not going to work out. Nothing's working out. Their mock interviews are terrible. They're talking about the dumbest things that aren't going to show us as an upper class family. We need to do something else. And he goes through the whole process. Let's go out. Let's see the high class. Let's enjoy things. And let's use that information. But then he's still dogging on himself that this is going to be a total failure. But it's this whole segment where somebody steals something and Yor launches out there and just chases after the guy. Anya's using her mind reading in order to find the guy in the crowd. Lloyd sees him and tackles him down. This is stuff that changed Lloyd a little bit because it's a two-part. One is the realization that he enjoys the idea of being thanked for helping. Obviously, they're men of the shadow. Everything they do is never seen by the public. You'll never get credit for anything. You just have to accept that. But now he's finally being, thanked for something, and he thanks Yor for it. Like, thank you for this whole day because it was gratifying. He loved the idea that I finally did something where somebody thanked me. And yes, the other side of that being this idea of realizing what's important, realizing what he's doing. And I honestly think this isn't the first time that Lloyd gets this realization. It's obviously in the first episode with Anya being captured and him helping her. He realizes the reason why I don't like seeing Anya cry is because it reminds me of back when I was alone. Back when this whole point where his whole driving force for being a spy was to stop the children from crying, stop the wars, keep the peace among the people because he doesn't want to see other children cry just like he did. He's having that reminder of what he once was. So yes, my whole point here is this is all to remind Lloyd of what's important. But yeah, obviously with Yor, she's noting this is where I go to look down to the people and remind myself what I'm doing everything for. Now, of course, he thinks it's being a civil servant. She comes there to look to the people and see what she's been helping. Like, I do all these assassins. This reminds me why I'm doing it. I'm keeping the peace. I'm doing this for these people so they can live in peace and be protected. And he's reminded that same thing. I finally look down, I see, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing this job. It's him realizing that he's too caught up in the job and failing it and all this kind of stuff. He's forgetting what's important. He's forgetting his focus. And yes, this whole thing, he thanks Yor, but thanks for reminding me. I think I can do a good job now. Even though, yes, it turns into Anya talking about how in the interview to respond that he tackles something. Anya was great in this episode. Just like I said before, just the truth bombs that she's throwing around. Like, you can't take a child to a museum without them just yelling out the randomest thing that everybody else is thinking, but nobody says out loud. I can see her chest. This one has no head. This one has no body. That was goofy. The other cool thing that we found from Anya in this episode is I didn't really kind of obviously we haven't got a full picture of what Anya's power is. Yes, she can read minds, but how it works. The assumption with the first few episodes is that she's always been like a single person. Like, I just tap into this person's mind, I can read what they're saying. She's never really heard multiple people. The thing that always comes from mind reading is that in a lot of stories about characters with mind reading, they go crazy because they can't block out noise. If they go to an area, they hear everything. And that often leads people to be very isolated that have mind reading. And they kind of touched a little bit with this episode. They go to a actual political rally, and Anya doesn't like it because she can hear everything. She's getting so much crosstalk, and it's bothering her. And yes, it's a lot of crosstalk about people's thoughts about what's happening with the whole West and East thing going right now. It's a lot of people saying, get out of here, traitor. The other side killed my family. I can never, even though they're talking peace, we can't accept peace because terrible things have happened in the past. We've lost our family members, all this kind of stuff. And this is a lot of talk that, it's a two-part. One, she doesn't want to hear. It's a lot of crosstalk, but it's also things that she doesn't want to hear because she wants peace. She does have a driving force of peace. This is something that was instilled upon her when she was in a lab. You are the beacon of peace. You will create peace. But despite that, it was cute that we get that sense that she doesn't like doing that. And then yet over here, just to help Lloyd, she pushes herself just to read the area and find the guy that stole the stuff. And that was really cute. I was half expecting to be like, oh, there it is, Papa. That's the guy. I remember his face or whatever. No, she still does the whole, don't want to reveal it, so we'll just point out this cake shop so that he looks in that direction. I also loved her drawing. I kind of knew that's what the direction it was going to go when she was drawing all this stuff. I'm like, I know that he's going to come around the corner and be like, what is this gibberish? Like, it's one of those things where she thinks that she's drawing all this information that's going to basically rat her out, but then she's terrible at drawing. She's a kid, obviously. It's probably not going to look like a Picasso or anything like that. It's not going to look like what's on the actual painting. But the thing that's funny about it is that despite the fact that she's afraid of him knowing what she drew, as he's looking at it, she's correcting him. So it's like I drew this thing. Oh crap, he's gonna find out that I can read minds, and then he's going, whoa, this is this, which is completely wrong. No, it's actually this. She's still correcting him. Yor was fantastic as well. Really did get a better sense of, I guess, the personality of Yor, because in the previous episode when we were introduced to her, she was very closed. She was very, she lacked confidence and everything. She was just kind of an outsider. Whereas this episode is really just like her realizing she has a place, I guess. Is that comfort that she's finding and having a place. She obviously takes a liking to Anya. Anya, it's hard to not take a liking to Anya. She's just too adorable. But having a place to be accepted, having a new home, yes, hiding your weapons. But additionally, we also get the side of her that's very driven. I think it's nice with the whole situation with this guy stealing this purse is you see this side of Yor where she leaps in action. And yes, that kind of blends in with Lloyd's progression here is that Lloyd realizes, whenever something like this happens, I never take action. When the lady thanks Lloyd, he immediately says, normally I wouldn't do anything. It's Yor, because Yor did something, I did something. Again, typically he doesn't do anything out in the open. He doesn't seek gratification. He doesn't do things to help people in broad daylight. It was because Yor leaped into action that he actually did something. And I honestly think that's going to be what we're going to get into when we eventually kind of explore Yor more. I mean, we already got the idea that she was taken in by somebody. They trained her to be an assassin, and that's where she is now, but not really a sense of why she leaps to action. When that lady's purse gets stolen, why does she immediately jump over the railing and just charge out there? She's trying to keep her identity a secret. Why would she just rush out there after somebody? It's going to be something where it's like it's second nature to her. I see trouble and I have to act. And you can probably chop it up as being just her nurturing nature. It's impossible for her not to react to things like that. But again, that's that bleed over to Lloyd in action despite the consequences. Similarly, it reminded me of Lloyd jumping on the guy and saying, a spy must never draw attention to themselves. Yeah, you did it. But I think they're all going to have a similar notion. They all have this drive for world peace. They all don't want war. They all want to protect the people that are before them. It's just each one takes action in a different way. And I think with them spending time together, you're going to see that blending happen. I think that's going to be what I'm seeing so far. Probably the core concept of Spy X Family is going to be that element of them all kind of bleeding into each other, becoming a family and learning things from each other that ultimately change them for the better. Lloyd accepting gratitude. Lloyd helping others in front of him rather than always hiding in the shadow. Yor having a place to stay and feeling accepted and feeling wanted. And yes, Anya finally having a family, obviously, and her pursuits for world peace and everything. But yeah, that's my thoughts on episode 3 of Spy X Family. Like I said, I didn't really think I was going to have much to talk about, and I ended up having way too much to talk about. So hope you guys enjoyed this impressions. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know about the episode, subscribe if you haven't already, share this video if you can, support us on Patreon, or throw our tips link in the description below. We definitely appreciate everybody that does, and y'all take care.